evening and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olsen, your host, and tonight I'd like to welcome back my friend and yours, John Martin, chair of the New London Republican Town Committee. And John, as always, welcome to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me over again, Marty.
Since John has run for office and stepped up now to lead the local party, I'm anticipating he'll be a semi-regular here in the guest seat. We have engaging conversations, and there's certainly lots to talk about in New London and beyond, for that matter.
Well, thank you, Marty. It's yeah, I'll be sticking my nose in the door until you lock it on me. So, thanks for having me over. There's a lot going on, folks, and a lot of things nobody really knows what's going on, or they're not getting the story. So. One of the reasons why I wanted to come on and speak with you tonight is one of our greatest treasures as a city. One of the top beaches in North America. Our very own Ocean Beach Park, and the city is disgruntled with the performance of Sodexo. They've been very critical. Over the past month, there have been several articles in the day, and I think it's really important that we talk about these things because, ladies and gentlemen, this is typical New London machine politics.
I would argue that disgruntled is a misnomer. It's scapegoating.
Yes.
Sodexo and their general manager, David Shagru, which I think is it's a false narrative there.
It absolutely is. And, today I've been working on an op-ed piece now for 2 weeks. And every time I go to put it into the mix to see if the day will even print it,
something else comes up.
I see another article. I mean, since May 11th, there's been one article. There's been an opinion piece by Dave Collins, God bless him. 2, 3 articles that we've seen. An editorial, and then another article that came out just recently on the 21st of May. And so I've been looking through these articles, and I've been, generating some bullet points and concerns that I have. And I'll be absolutely honest with you, Marty. I'm not looking at this. I am looking at this through the lens of what are they trying to hide? Who are they trying to blame? And I'm not doing that because I'm a cynic. I'm doing this because I spent 21 years working for the city of New London as a teacher. And I have seen how New London will take money that's thrown at them, and God only knows what happens with it, but it's not fixing the boilers, it's not, maintaining the bathrooms, it's not taking care of the kids' educational needs. It's going somewhere, and the same thing is happening at Ocean Beach.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's so much misinformation or lack of knowledge regarding the beach in terms of how it operates, why we made the change to having a contractual situation for operations.
Mm-hmm.
And the emphasis is operations, which Sodexo is the firm that operates Ocean Beach. The city owns all the land and all the buildings and is responsible for the land and the buildings. But reading some of these articles, you'd think that that responsibility was in the lap of Sodexo, and it's not.
It's not. Some of the issues and some of the claims that the city's been making are things like, in order to keep these contracts running, the city has been insisting that Sodexo show a little bit of love. And either by doing some upgrades on the buildings, or I think somebody told me that the elevator,
I had suggested 5 years ago, or I should say, Dave Shagru, and I have known Dave since we were in our late teens, early 20s. It's a long time. How much business are we losing?
Yeah.
in the banquet hall, because we are not fully ADA compliant.
No.
I mean, you can get up there on the side of the building, but you've got to, it's not convenient by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And prior to this conversation with Mr. Chagru regarding an elevator and the need for one, is Sodexo had suggested, and the city had accepted 2 separate large loans for capital improvements in lieu of extending the contract to Sodexo. And the city approved those, including Passero as a counselor.
Yeah.
And now he's berating them for a contract that he approved.
Yeah.
That's
It's unsurprising, honestly. I mean, it's really unsurprising. It's, you know, what can I squeeze out of you? And then when the lemon is squeezed out, just toss it in the trash, because we'll get another lemon. And I mean, one of the articles talks about, I mean, you know, the first article talks about we want some RFPs, requests for proposals. So no, Sodexo, you're not going to get your contract renewed. And then, you know, as the heat starts building and people start muttering, you get to the point where the city's saying, oh, you know what, we'll give you 28 months to see what you can do.
it's amazing.
My spin on this is the city probably was making phone calls and nobody wants to touch this. Because I'm going to tell you something. If I was a Sodexo kind of company and they want me to come in and run their beach, all I would need to do is take a walk through the port and starboard and sit there and say, you want me to be responsible for this? Or the, you know, the concession stands, or the amusement park, or the water park. I'm going to walk around there and I'm going to say, you really want me to take risks? You really want me to be making you guys money with this? I think Dave has worked miracles with what he's been given.
Yeah, I mean, very limited support from the city, and you know, seasonal business is heavily weather dependent in the last 2 summers, and it's ironic that they're using the last 3 years as their gauge, where you've had 2 summers with heavy rains, and the prior year with COVID, which put a slight damper on revenue.
Yes.
And for those, and many people have argued, well, why don't we do this or that or the other thing and make this thing more year-round? If it was that easy,
We'd be doing it.
it would have been done.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think there are some, I mean, as I've been like reading and kind of pondering and reflecting on, you know, what these articles and editorials and op-ed pieces have said, I mean, I think there are avenues that could be explored. But once again, I'm sure that, you know, Mr. Chagru doesn't turn away, that wouldn't be turning the city away if a city councilor or Parks and Rec or members of the city council form the committee to, you know, take a look and see what other, you know, parks and beaches like us, what they're doing. I'm sure he wouldn't say, no, I don't have time for you guys, because he wants this to be successful. This guy has poured an awful lot of his heart and soul into Ocean Beach over many years.
He's like Tony Pirro, too.
He is.
Which is meant to be a high compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mr. Ocean Beach. It's and so, yeah, okay. I mean, sure. I'm the chair of the RTC in New London on the Republican Town Committee. So yeah, it's not a big fan that I'm not a big. It's not a surprise that I'm not a big fan of the sitting council and the mayor. But it's not about R&Ds, folks. It's not Republicans and Democrats. It's about saving this beach and making it an ornament and profitable. Profitable for Sodexo, profitable for the people who want to be employed there, and, you know, and a crown for New London.
Yeah. And that's another thing, too, is you bring up employment, is that for whatever reason, but in recent years, it's becoming more and more challenging, and you work with young people and teenagers, to find folks to work down there in the summer. They can't fill all the lifeguard slots or the cashier's jobs or the maintenance and picking up of debris, et cetera, to keep that place going. I mean, it's daunting.
It is.
You know, Jeff Mullen can't find folks to run his rides.
Yep.
And there's another guy who works his tail off.
Yeah. It's and I mean, from what I understood, I was speaking with some people last week, and I understand that they're offering very competitive wages for lifeguards at Ocean Beach. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Being a lifeguard's a difficult job, and it's and there's you get a nice day at Ocean Beach, and granted, I mean, it's not like you have to worry about like riptides like you do in Mesquamaket. It's a pretty safe beach, but I mean, jellyfish. Oh my, jellyfish are probably the
We've got heat issues. We've had
yeah, but you're going to get those at any beach.
folks
But
who have had maybe a little bit too much to drink.
but overall, it's far from the most dangerous beach in the area, but they're offering money and they're still struggling to fill beaches. I mean, concession work it's hard, it's dirty, it's hot. I can understand, I guess. But when I was a kid, I mean, heck, I picked tobacco for a summer.
Yeah.
And that was pretty miserable.
Yeah. Well, but not that it's the way it was when I was a young fellow cutting my teeth as a lifeguard at the beach as a teenager back in the early 70s and late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But we had the lines every weekend down Ocean Avenue to the hospital and beyond. But on those days now, when the parking lot does fill up, and Dave's a good neighbor. I mean, he himself will get out into the neighborhood to check up on things, to check on cars, debris and garbage, to make sure that the patrons are not abusing that part of town.
Yeah, I mean, I myself, I've seen him and others, people blocking driveways and things like that. I mean, they take action. They are good neighbors, and I don't think any of the neighbors are complaining about that. I think what they're complaining about is that Ocean Beach has become a money pit. But is that Dave Chagrew's fault, and is that Sodexo's fault? My argument is going to be no. So, I mean, let's hit some of these articles, because I was kind of surprised on May 11th when the article "Beach Bummer: New London to seek new management options," and I'm sitting there saying, "Well, are you kidding me?" But the article goes on about how revenue is down, and I will give the day credit. They do talk about. I can't remember if it was a quote from Mr. Chagrew or a quote from somebody else involved in the beach, but they did mention the fact that there were weather issues, and it is really a weather dependent industry.
I mean, a problem that the beach has had, and it's had, I think, it may have going back to the get-go, 1940, is that the city hasn't really decided
Bingo.
what it wants the facility to be. I mean, in essence, what we're running is a state park in a municipality, and the burden of it is on the city of New London. Yeah. And we're not a full-time amusement park, let's say, like Disney.
Or Quasi, or...
I mean, we are a beach with a few amenities, which enhance your day at the beach.
Yeah. It's and those were some of the things, like in that article on May 11th. I mean, I picked up on a lot of things that the city and the day really failed to address. I mean, they're critical of Sodexo's performance, but they don't give us any details. I mean, there are no real details except for the revenue. And there's a lot of reasons why. I'm going to tell you something. Since 2020, there's a lot of reasons why people aren't spending money to go to the beach or go to lake compounds.
Go
or
anywhere.
go anywhere, go to the movies.
Go to a restaurant.
I mean, I don't know the last time I took my wife to go see a movie in a movie theater. And it's not because I don't like going to see movies. It's just, I mean, I used to be able to take her for like $25 or $30. We could go in there, you know, get a popcorn, see a movie, air conditioning, nice seats, have a good time, get out for a little while. But now that $20 or $30 is turning into $40 and $50. And my God, if you have children, I mean, I couldn't imagine, you know, taking my wife and if I had 3 kids to the movie theater. I mean, I'd be spending $100.
Yeah. But in that same vein, I think this is important because it gets lost in the shuffle when people complain about the rates, is that ultimately the rates are approved by the city council and signed off on by the mayor. So it's them.
Yeah.
And they're doing a quick tap dance around us, and they're trying to leave Chagru and Sodexo to hang us if it's their fault.
Yeah,
I mean, Chagru and Sodexo are presenting a budget with suggested rates, but ultimately the council can lower or increase them as they deem to
Absolutely.
be appropriate. And I've been there and I've seen it.
You've seen it negotiated.
That's correct.
And so, I mean, they're working with the restrictions they have. And let's be honest, I think my wife picked up her season pass because one of the things we love about living in New London, my wife, you know, God bless her. I mean, you know, she looks at a picture of the sun too long and she gets a sunburn. But that girl will go to the beach every nice day she's down at the beach. And so she got her season pass, you know, and it's the stickers in the window of her car right now. And it's reasonably priced. It's very reasonably priced if you're a resident. And even for non-residents, I mean, I think it's what, less than $200? I think
God,
for
yeah,
a season pass if you're
much less for
if you're out of town.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, it's certainly no more than 2. I want to say I think she paid $40, $50 maybe for her season pass. Yeah, granted, I mean, you're going to go in there for the day, and you're going to pay $30 to park in the beach or $5 or $8 to walk through the gate. But newsflash, you've got a beach that's being maintained. You've got lifeguards on duty. You've got, you know, amenities all around. That all of these things cost money.
Superlative boardwalk,
Yeah.
swimming pool.
Where are you going to go for $30? Because honestly, you can spend $30 to get in that, you know, for a day pass, park in that parking lot, and not open your wallet for the rest of the day unless you want to. Because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to Ocean Beach. I'm bringing my cooler. I
Sure.
mean, it's you know, I'm bringing my water and my Coke and my Gatorade and
Whatever you need.
and you know, and then maybe I'll go and get a burger or a dog or something like that. So when you're looking at bang for a buck, Ocean Beach still gives you a lot for the money. I actually today I went on TripAdvisor and was checking out reviews on Ocean Beach, and there are a lot of very positive reviews about Ocean Beach. Some people complained about, you know, the cost and stuff like that, and my argument is that it's not free. I mean, and for those of you who are going to sit there and, you know, right now, if you're watching and you're gnashing your teeth saying, I can go to a state park and it's free if I have a Connecticut license plate. No, you're not going there free because your tax dollars are paying for it. Okay, and you're paying a lot for it. I never had a problem with paying $5 to go to, you know, I grew up in Vernon, you know, Gay City State Park. I remember paying $5 to go to the local state forest.
Yeah. But with the beach, you're paying by the carload too. So if you got, let's say, you know, a family of 4, and you're paying $30, that's what, $7.50 a pop per person, and that's pretty reasonable.
It is, and you know, from people I've spoken to over the past few weeks, and what I've read, you know, it's people can complain about the money, but they're complaining about the money at the grocery store. They're complaining about the money at McDonald's. They're complaining about the money at Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, remember when you could get a cup of coffee and a donut at Dunkin' Donuts for $4? You know, try doing that now. So, I mean, to blame Sodexo for people being less willing to open their wallets?
Another thing to keep in mind, and I think this gets lost in the shuffle, is that the city has a contract
Yes.
with Sodexo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sodexo is not operating willy-nilly here.
No.
They've got a contract with the city, and they have obligations to meet, and there are targets financially to reach,
Mm-hmm.
and if certain benchmarks are met, they make a little bit, city makes some, and it works in reverse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, you really have got to look at things, I think, a bit more acutely. You've got to be more thoughtful in terms of your analysis. And I think too many folks are shooting from the hip.
Well, I mean, they're used to getting fed this. I mean, let's not forget, this is a party that keeps on getting reelected. I mean, last November, they didn't work for anybody's vote, and they still got reelected.
Across the board.
Across the board. So, I mean, people are getting used to this, and folks, if there's anything, if you live in New London or the area, if there's anything that's worth you getting heated over, it's what's going to happen to our beach. Because not too many places in this country have a beach like this. That is as available to us as this.
Yeah, and I might add too is since the city has made the decision to go to privatizing the operations, there have been a variety of firms that have held that position, and it hasn't been due to bidding; it's been due to buying out.
Yeah.
So different from your Boston Concessions, Sodexo, and there's been I think 2 or 3 others, and David Shagru has been the constant.
Through all of those.
All of them. It's not like somebody comes in and all of a sudden you're at the helm, and 2 years later they get bought out and I'm at the helm, and it's all herky-jerky and you don't know what's going on, and you got people learning on the fly. Dave's the steady ship.
When I was doing some basic research, I know I found 3 companies, Sodexo being the latest, that had the contract to operate, to conduct operations on the beach. I mean, to be honest, I think the only reason why they pushed out this last article where they're offering 28 more months is I truly believe that the city thought that there's going to be companies interested in going in there. And I don't think people are going to be lining up to take this mess. As I've mentioned earlier, I mean, I love Ocean Beach, and 2 years ago, the school I teach in, we had our prom at, the Port and Starboard, and it wasn't bad, but it was kind of run down. I mean, it was kind of dingy, and there's no need for that. I mean, it's when you look at that 11th May article, I mean, they don't talk about Sodexo's performance, but that's not being critical of Sodexo. That's like, where have they failed? Give me some concrete examples where Sodexo failed to live up to their end of the contract.
Besides the fact that it rained.
Yeah, and I don't think Sodexo can control the rain. It doesn't talk about any, the city hasn't been coming up with any alternative revenue resources besides some muttering I heard about, well, maybe we can put like Airbnbs in there or, a micro resort. Where? Where are you going to do this? I mean, and if you do that, you don't have a beach anymore.
Yeah, well, even the parking lot, the scope of it has been reduced, even though the size the footprint's the same.
Yep.
So
it's nowhere in that first article, nobody from Sodexo had an opportunity to give their position, their side of the story.
Yeah. Well, the day has not, in my opinion, has not done a very good job, and it's here as well as I hope other topics will have an opportunity to get into. But they're not necessarily soliciting alternative thoughts or opinions. I mean, they're, excuse me, it's almost like they're just taking press releases out of City Hall and running with it as this is news, and they're reporting seems to be a lost art.
Yeah. And that's absolutely correct. I mean, where was I know people who are on, the Save Ocean Beach, that organization, and my goodness, nobody reached out to them.
Tom Quinton, who's the chair, works his tail off. He loves the beach, and he's down there volunteering his time and services, as many others are in that organization.
And nobody reached out to them in any of these articles. Not one.
Yeah, we've got a call.
Okay.
So let's see what somebody out in the wild wilderness of New London wants to talk about here. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hey, Marty, thanks for taking my call. I didn't realize you're on, so I caught you a little late. I don't know if you guys talked about it yet, but one of the things I saw with this new contract negotiations for management is they now have to put in an elevator to be ADA compliant. I thought it was the city's responsibility to maintain the buildings. Where does that fall on Sodexo? And the other point I have is they want to have a monthly meeting analysis of their financial situation. It's like a little later. Maybe we should be doing that about the school that's bleeding money, and we're worrying about a function that only lose $100K a year.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the elevator goes, it's almost like they're trying to extort this out of Sodexo. I mean, it's the city's responsibility. Passero cannot direct them to do that. If he wants to make that a negotiable item in a contract extension, that's a different story. But he can't go, "You will do this." That's not right. Can't do it.
I will say this much. I mean, I teach in a small private school now, so when I taught in the public schools, if I wanted, new technology or a new smart board or something like that, I mean, it was just a matter of finding the grant. But now the Catholic school, small private school, the company I work with, I mean, I ordered a bunch of Chromebooks. So every student, all the faculty members, they all have a device that's issued by the school and maintained by the school. And so I'm buying a bunch of these Chromebooks. And so I did ask the company. I said, so is there anything you guys can give us to kind of sweeten the pot? And I have no problem with that. It's a negotiation tactic. And CDW absolutely could have said, nah, it's only 100 Chromebooks. It's not worth us, going out of our way. But no, what did they do? They gave us, free training that was usually, quite expensive. They gave us they gave us a free service plan for a year on 100 Chromebooks. So yeah, they gave us several $100s because they wanted that business and the relationship. As a result, I'm loyal to this company. And so I don't really have a problem with Sodexo if they got their arm twisted into doing the elevator, then that's a problem. That's Passero being a bully.
Yeah.
But if Sodexo's willing to do this, I mean, it's kind of in their best interest because one of the things that they operate is the port and starboard as well.
Well, and as well as the other banquet facilities and the bar.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not gonna. I did quirk an eyebrow about this idea of Sodexo ponying up the money for an elevator, which isn't cheap, but I don't think that was ridiculous. Now, if the city now starts sitting there saying, and while you're at it, you need to revamp the water park, and you need to extend the boardwalk, and you need to modernize the concession stands, then I'd sit there and say, and if I was Sodexo, I'd be walking.
I'd be walking anyways because it's ridiculous. It's a 28-month renewal compared to a 10-year that they've gotten for the last 2 decades, and it's like there's no return on investment alone for putting this ADA compliant elevator in. Not to mention they want port and starboard to be ADA compliant when City Hall currently isn't ADA compliant.
Bingo. I'm sorry, the speaker's over here, so I keep looking back there. You just nailed that. You just nailed that one, my friend. I taught in New London for 21 years, and the New London is great about getting shiny new buildings, and they suck when it comes to basic maintenance and cleaning their own house.
I mean, I won't get into names, but there was a story back with the high school that an individual, because the high school wasn't ADA compliant, had to be brought through his wheelchair into the high school on the freight lift.
Yep.
yet they're worrying about something that's been talked about a long time. It's like, if I was Sodexo, I understand that their contract renewed May 23rd, which let's wait till the last minute to do a contract negotiation.
Right.
What would have happened if they said, you know what, you can give it to another management company. We're not happy with 28 months. We'll walk.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
And I wouldn't have blamed them if they did.
It's and I give credit to, once again, I mean, I just can't sing Dave Chagrew's praises enough. You know, the way he was kind of, I mean, some of these articles really hit him. You know, it was a hit piece. And
Well, the one that was BS was the boat.
Yeah. I think Sodexo, really, I think, you know, I think they see value in this, because I think you're absolutely right, sir. If they didn't see potential here, I absolutely agree with you, they would have walked.
Yeah, they're in business to make money. They're not here for charitable reasons. It's
Well, I'll give you a good example. It was before the pandemic, probably going on close to a decade now. Almost $500,000 was spent to put a new roof on the Workout World or Renegade location, and they walked within 2 years, let alone they weren't even open during the winter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and it's an interesting thing too, because, you know, I mean, the city will spend money. I was talking to somebody earlier today at the bank, and, you know, she sat there and said, you know, it's interesting because downtown, the city has absolutely no problems giving friends of the city council and the mayor, you know, $150,000 grants, $200,000 grants, you know, dumping money into restaurants and businesses downtown. But
private businesses.
yeah, private businesses, but they squawk over Ocean Beach all of a sudden.
It's a slap in the face to the bunch of us that have been volunteers, mainly with SOB, what we've done with cleanups, those of us that helped restore the boardwalk, those of us that got plumbers involved, to volunteer their time to replace all the fixtures and the shower head. It's like, it's another time the city's slapping volunteers in the face again.
Yeah.
With
So-
all this time, this sweat equity's been put in to help maintain that place, and this is the way the management company gets treated this way.
I have a friend, I have a neighbor who's a longtime Save Ocean Beacher. So I many thanks for your time and lending your talent to this beach, sir. God bless you, because it's people like you who have made this beach, I mean, the treasure that it is today. Whenever I have friends or, you know, family members who, you know, come from other places, you know, other states, and we take them to Ocean Beach, they are amazed at what we have in our backyard.
I know you guys want to wrap up, and I appreciate you taking the call and comments. One thing I don't know if you touched on, like I said, I'm late. I know, John, you're probably aware, Marty, there is a petition going out to send the city budget to referendum, FYI.
Yes,
That's a topic of conversation, John. So we'll be on that probably shortly
In a few
after we
minutes.
move on here.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. It's yeah, I mean, it's when you just to summarize some of the things that I pulled out here. I mean, it's Sodexo doesn't. I can't look at their performance objectively because nobody's giving me the metrics. No, I don't have the metrics that they were evaluated against. I don't have any idea of their real performance. I have no idea where exactly Sodexo is failing to live up to their end of the contract. Just because Ocean
Or
Beach is,
succeeding.
well, yeah, or succeeding. Because you know what? Sure, Ocean Beach has lost money these past couple of years. Everybody's losing money. You know, some of it has to do with the lousy economy in the state and, you know, throughout the nation. Some of it has to do with, as we've mentioned before, the weather. And when you only have maybe 4 months of profitable beach use, those are big factors.
They sure are.
Where are we talking about profitability solutions? So instead of just sitting there saying, all right, Sodexo, you're not giving us what we want, so we're strong-arming you out. I mean, why aren't all of these brilliant people that we pay good money for in City Hall coming up with plans?
Well, as we said, there is no plan.
There is no plan.
And as I noted at the top, I believe Sodexo is being scapegoated. I mean, and that is That's about as polite as I can be. I mean, I can use some harsher words, but it doesn't serve a useful purpose on public
doesn't.
access television. But I think the caller brought up a good point too in regards to our economy, and we just had a recent reevaluation in New London, and our council has decided that a significant hike in taxes is in order for homeowners in particular.
Yeah.
Going to take a beating on general government and education, and the cost of government should be going basically relatively flat. And when you have the reevaluation, all you're doing is totaling up the value, which is the grand list of all the property in New London. And when you do that, and if the value goes up, the mill rate should drop precipitously, but the cost of government should remain relatively stable. Government has had a way of getting a windfall because it's a confusing time for many people. So when the spending goes up, the mill rate drops a little bit, and then you get socked with higher taxes.
Right.
And the Republican Party, I'll let you speak for the party, is the chair.
It's the mayor really kind of pushed out, something that probably made a lot of people, heave a sigh of relief. Well, I hope you enjoy your relaxed state now, folks, because your bills will be coming in soon. And, so the headlines, the takeaway points that they wanted you to walk away with when you read that article in the day is that the general fund is only increasing by about 1%. And that the mill rate dropped from 37% to 27.5% from 37.2. Well, folks, the mill rate's dropping because the assessed value of all property went up at an average of 34%. The average residential, notice how Marty talked earlier about, residential property rates skyrocketed. The average residential property value went up by 60%. I know mine did. I'm tempted to sell my house. If somebody will buy my house at what the city says it's worth, I almost would be willing to sell it tomorrow. So 40% of the property in New London's not even taxed. And we can talk about pilots and all of this stuff, but let's be honest. Conn College, Mitchell College, L&M,
Coast
Guard Academy. They do payment in lieu of taxes, but
it's a pittance in comparison.
It absolutely is. I'm not a huge fan of Yale, but Yale dumps millions of dollars, and they're not taxed either.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, New Haven for all of its shortcomings, if you took Yale out of there.
Oh, New Haven would look like, a war zone. It would be. They wouldn't be able to keep the streets paved. They wouldn't be able to keep the street lights running.
Yeah. But one thing that the city has done at the general government level, as well as in education, since COVID, is that the city has received an extraordinary amount of outside revenue from the feds and the state. And they have, in my humble opinion, been reckless in their spending, providing new programs, enhanced salaries, and things of this ilk. And now that funding, and this is a one-time funding source, and now that funding is drying up, and what are you going to do? And everybody's got a new job or big raise. They're kind of happy with that. They want to stay. And guess who's going to get left holding the bag?
Hi.
And I. And all you out there that are watching, that own your own home or have a car.
Yeah. Folks, the Day article talked about, the general fund was only about $57 million, but, the total city budget is about $99 million. Other budget funds went up precipitously, and the article really doesn't talk much about those. So let's take a look. The debt service fund increased by 31%. Most of that debt service fund is interest on the huge loan we took out on a community center that may or may not be built anytime in our lifetimes. The town road aid fund increased 20%. Now, I'd be willing to pay 20% more for a town road fund if they would fix my potholes and repave my streets. I've lived on, on Riverview Avenue for 22 years now, and I don't think they paved my street once. Once. I mean, I had potholes in the middle of my street, like everyone
The
else.
condition of the roads in the city is
Are
abhorrent.
deplorable. Mhm. Enterprise fund went up by 13%. The Board of Education budget is $50 million, and that's not even, we're not talking about that in the city budget. And frankly, we're not even gonna, right now, I don't think anybody is interested in going after the board budget right now, because it's the city side that's gonna be killing us right now.
But what has the GOP decided to do about this?
Well, it's, we are concerned citizens, and the New London Republican Town Committee is more than happy to put in the work and the effort, and a lot of people are. We're petitioning for a referendum. We will be at Toby May from 4 to 6 tomorrow, and we'll be at Toby May, I think Saturday morning. And if you go and if you're on Facebook, take a look at the New London RTC or New London Republican Town Committee. We've posted that.
Has the day captured this and published that we're doing this?
Nope. I mean, and to give them some credit, I haven't called them. And and even though, I mean, I am the chair of the RTC, and several members of the RTC are volunteering their time and their talents, we're not doing this as a party. We're doing this as people who live in this town, and I'm concerned about the taxes. I'm really concerned about my tax increase, because your taxes, once again, the article sat there, the mayor said, oh, taxes, your average tax is only gonna go up $750. That's not what I'm hearing from people who live south of the hospital. And because they can do math. And I know people who are like terrified that when they get their tax bill next month, a little more than a month from now, they're gonna be seeing their property taxes on their homes going up $2,000 or more.
Yeah. Well, John Russell was mentioned to me as well, and he serves on the Water and Water Pollution Control Authority, that our utility bills will be going up significantly as well. Our electric bills will be going up. As we all know, our food bills and gasoline are skyrocketing as well. So it just, it's almost like we're getting set up for culture shock here.
Hopefully, it's one of the great things about having a horrible turnout last November is, I mean, we don't need that many votes to push a referendum. And so I feel confident we need less than 400 votes.
Signatures.
Or signatures, rather, thank you. We need less than 600 signatures or less than 400 signatures to
You have to be a registered voter.
Yes.
You can be Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated, Green, whatever, but you just have to be registered in New London.
We have the forms, so if you come and visit us at Calkins Park, we'll have one of these, and we'll post all the information up for you. It talks about why we're petitioning, the ordinance that is pertinent to this. We're going to ask you to print your name, your date of birth, your address. We're going to ask you to give us your signature and the date that you are assigning this. And like I said, 400 signatures. I think it's very doable. And I do know that people have been collecting votes already. Homeward Bound, which is John Russell's store in downtown New London, he has copies of the petition. in
Well, I
his store.
signed Gina Phillips today, and she runs Northeast Paving, so if you see
does, yeah.
Northeast Paving out and about, she'll have these.
And, it's, you can always leave us a message on our Facebook page if you can't make it to.
Need be, we'll we'll meet you, we'll go to
Folks,
you.
my school year is done. I had my last exams today. Tomorrow I'm going to finish grading them. So if you leave us a message, you give me your address and when you're going to be home, I'll knock on your door so you can fill this thing out.
And there's a timeline that needs to be met.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like this can go on forever.
No, it's we have until next week, and I want to say it's maybe the 3rd or the 4th, and so this weekend is going to be our big push.
Yeah.
And once again, Monday, if anybody wants to, over the weekend, Friday morning, over the weekend, if I'm not at Toby May, we'll come to you. I'll probably hang out in Calkins Park because that's the park I live, nearby. I'll probably hang out in Calkins Park Sunday morning. A lot of people, there's youth soccer and things going on there. So if you live in the Calkins Park area, come on down Sunday because I'll tell you, I'll be there. We can do this, folks.
Yeah.
And
And assuming that the signatures are met, then the petitions get presented to the council, and then
Yes.
they have a timeline that they have to act.
they do.
I mean, they can do nothing. They could decide to make significant cuts to short circuit the referendum, and then make those folks that have to make a decision. Are we going to do this again, or are we going to be satisfied with the action taken? Or they could spit in our face and cut the budget, $1.
And that's something I was speaking with Rob Perro last week, and he sat there and said they absolutely, he did bring that up. He said doing nothing is not something they would most likely do. But he said it wouldn't surprise me if they took $50 off of the budget. In which case then, folks, I'm going to bother you again, or somebody's going to bother you again, because we will be asking you to go back down to Toby May, or asking you to go back to, wherever, or give us a call so we can know. We'll be knocking on your door, asking you to sign the petition, because we'll keep on tying this up until they do something. And folks, listen, this isn't a Republican Democrat thing. This isn't I'm out to get somebody thing. I'm a taxpayer too. And I don't mind, well, no, I'm lying if I say I don't mind paying taxes. I don't mind paying taxes if I feel like I'm getting the services I deserve.
I want to get value.
If I'm getting my money's worth, if I'm getting my value, I'm okay with it. I don't feel like I'm getting my value, and I really truly believe that my taxes are going to go up 30% or more just because the city council and the mayor's office have chosen to be irresponsible with a windfall. It's like finding your uncle's cash box and looting it, and then he finds out that you've taken all of his money and you got no way to pay him back. I'm not going to stand for that, and I hope you don't either.
Well, like I say, I've already signed on. Folks, you've been watching City Focus tonight. I've been joined by my friend John Martin, and we both had a laundry list of things to chat about.
Yeah.
We've only gotten into basically two.
A couple.
So, I mean, as you read the paper, I mean, there's issues regarding the wind issues down at State Pier. There's this giant boat that
The Charybdis?
can't fit here. So it looks like there's problems there. Budgetary issues and policy issues regarding public safety, especially in the downtown area. Dirt bikes are starting to come out. What are we doing about it, if anything? And I will say this as one who has served on the council, if that, our state legislators, Nolan and Martha Marks, they're doing nothing about this. But it's up to the local council to put a bug up their backside and say, we're not happy about this. You guys do something so we can sink our teeth into it and solve this problem. You know, and as we get into the warmer months too, with issues of violence and worse, gun issues, New London is too small to be dealing with this kind of
Chaos.
chaos is the best word for it. And of course, we always have an election coming up, and this fall, there's all kinds of elections, from president right on down to state reps.
It's in the 39th district. We have beloved Carter, I believe, is planning on running against Tony Nolan. Sean Mastriani is running against Martha Marks. Both of them have secured endorsements. I guess the Susan Scheinbein, I believe her name is running in the 40th, which is some of New London and some of Groton, or all of Groton. So, I mean, folks, we have choices. We're putting up good candidates. Last November, for municipal elections, we put up good candidates. And 3,000 people showed up, 3,400 people showed up to vote. Please vote.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm going to take liberty here as the host. I'm going to have a little PSA here to promote the Kiwanis Club of New London annual golf tournament, of which I'm a member of, and I like to get my opportunity to let everybody know about it. We need everything. There we go. We need golfers. We need sponsors. We need prizes, volunteers. And it's a great time, and the money raised goes back into the community. Our scholarship committee is working hard as we speak, as the club will be awarding three $3,000 scholarships next month, and we're very proud of that. So with that, John, any final thoughts?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's you get the government you deserve. And I truly believe that. And if I've offended anybody, it's not my intention. I mean, you get the government you deserve. When we have somewhat 11,000 registered voters in New London, and 3,000 of them get out and vote, 3,000 of them get out involved. I mean, when we have an RTC meeting, and I get 15, 20 people showing up, and we have some 1,600, registered Republicans in town, guys, gals, you get the government you deserve.
I subscribe to that as well. I do. Well, John, it's been fun, as always.
It has
It was
indeed.
nice to get a call this week.
It was.
And we'll have you back on as things, as the city turns, I think, as they said.
Thank you very much, Marty.
So thank you for being here tonight, John Martin. Next week will be Tony D'Angelo, who's a weekly guest on Lee Elsie's program. And speaking of Lee, I will be on his program tomorrow morning at 6:30. So if you want to hear what I have to say, tune in to Lee at 94.9 at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. And with that, we'll say good night. We'll see you next week.
Good night.